Sometimes, the most powerful weapon of justice comes from the most innocent voices. Today, a 7-year-old child is about to step into the courtroom, unknowingly altering the course of a murder trial. The moment he starts noticing things, nothing will ever be the same again. The courtroom is silent, heavy with anticipation. The jury members glance at each other, intrigued. Meanwhile, seated at the defendant's table, Michael Miller exchanges a brief look with his attorney. He is confident. Today, he will walk free. He will walk.
This court is now in session. Prosecutor, you may call your witness.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today I present to you an extraordinary witness. He may be the youngest person to ever take this stand, but what he has to say may change everything. Our witness today is 7-year-old Lucas Miller.
Murmurs ripple through the courtroom. People exchange glances. The jury members furrow their brows, skeptical. In the defendant's seat, Michael Miller leans back slightly, a faint smirk playing on his lips. The courtroom doors open, and Lucas Miller steps inside. His small steps are hesitant, his wide eyes scanning the unfamiliar faces surrounding him. He clutches the hem of his shirt nervously. His gaze briefly meets his mother's, who gives him a reassuring nod. Taking a deep breath, he swallows his fear. Judge Hayes observes him intently before giving a slight nod of acknowledgement.
Lucas, welcome. In this courtroom, all you need to do is tell the truth. Do you think you can do that?
Yes.
It is rare for a child to testify in court. Most children struggle to recall details with accuracy. But Lucas was different. He knew far more than he realized.
Lucas, can you tell us where your father was on the night of the murder?
I don't know. I was asleep.
A brief silence fills the room. A subtle smile forms on Michael Miller's face. His son remembers nothing. That meant the case would fall apart, right?
Your Honor, members of the jury, what do we see here? A child who knows nothing about that night? Are we truly going to rely on the words of a 7-year-old who admits he was asleep? There is no concrete evidence against my client, and the strongest witness the prosecution has, well, he's sitting right in front of you, and he just cleared his father's name.
For a moment, the courtroom considered the attorney's words. Michael Miller relaxed slightly in his seat. But what no one realized was that Lucas knew more than he thought. He just hadn't remembered yet. As Prosecutor Carter flips through his files, Lucas stares at the jury, his brows furrowing. Something is bothering him. His small fingers tap against the wooden armrest of the chair, lost in thought. Then suddenly, his eyes widen slightly. A single memory resurfaces, a minor detail that had gone unnoticed. Until now.
But where's my pen?
At that moment, the air in the courtroom shifted. Prosecutor Carter narrowed his eyes. Michael Miller's smirk began to fade. Lucas had spoken in the most casual, childlike manner, as if simply wondering about a lost possession. But what no one knew yet was that this small detail would hold the key to justice. Michael Miller looked relaxed. His defense attorney leaned back confidently. The energy in the courtroom had shifted. Even among the jury, there was uncertainty. Could a child truly be the key witness in such a high-stakes case?
Lucas, do you remember what time your father came home on the night of the murder?
No.
The defense attorney smiled slightly, exchanging a glance with the defendant. Michael Miller turned to the jury, his expression sincere, his voice layered with emotion.
You see, even my own son knows I'm innocent. If I had done something wrong that night, wouldn't he have noticed? But here he is, sitting in front of you, telling the truth. He was asleep, and he heard nothing.
The defendant leaned back with confidence. The defense attorney gave a subtle nod, as if victory had already been secured. Some jury members lowered their heads, deep in thought. The trial seemed to be tilting in Michael Miller's favor. But just then, something changed. Lucas narrowed his eyes, staring at the table in front of him, lost in thought.
But where's my pen?
A brief silence settled over the courtroom. A child's innocent question. Simple, almost irrelevant. But this question would change everything.
Lucas, what pen are you talking about?
My dad gave me a pen. It was red and silver. I always had it with me, but now it's gone.
Oh, buddy, maybe you lost it somewhere at home, but this isn't the time for that, okay?
But Lucas's expression didn't change. He was still thinking, because he remembered exactly where he had last seen that pen.
The last time I saw it, it was in my dad's pocket.
Prosecutor Carter's eyes lit up instantly, because in the crime scene report, there was a photograph of that very pen.
Lucas, is this the pen you're talking about?
Yes, but this isn't in our house.
To a child, this might have seemed like a small detail, but in the eyes of the law, this was undeniable evidence. The jury members straightened in their seats. The air in the courtroom shifted instantly, and for the first time, Michael Miller felt a creeping sense of panic. Some secrets unravel through the most unexpected details, and Lucas's missing pen was about to expose the biggest secret of this trial. But no one had yet realized that this tiny detail would completely shift the course of justice.
Mr. Miller, your son says this pen belongs to him, and yet it was found at the crime scene. Can you explain this?
Your Honor, it's just a pen. Many people could own one like it. My son is probably mistaken.
No, I know this pen. My name is engraved on it.
Lucas's words hit the courtroom like a bombshell, because if his name was engraved on the pen, this was no coincidence. Some jury members shifted in their seats. The defense attorney swallowed hard, and for the first time, Michael Miller's face turned pale.
So, we can no longer say the defendant wasn't at the crime scene, because a pen with his own son's name on it doesn't just magically appear there. Mr. Miller, do you have an explanation for this?
Maybe someone stole it. How do we know that? This is ridiculous.
But it was already too late. The truth was slowly surfacing. That pen would become Michael Miller's greatest mistake. The case was nearly closed, but the missing pen was about to expose the defendant's biggest lie.
Your Honor, members of the jury, I have here a photograph of a pen found at the crime scene. This pen is identical to the one Lucas claims to have lost.
Mr. Miller, what do you have to say about this?
This must be a coincidence.
But the jury was no longer buying it, because a child, in his pure innocence, had unknowingly presented the most damning piece of evidence.
But Dad, you were at home that night, weren't you? So why is your pen there?
The defendant swallowed hard. The courtroom fell silent. A single question, so simple, yet so devastating, had shattered his entire defense. Justice often emerges from the most unexpected places. And today, a child's innocence was about to expose a man's deception.
Mr. Miller, I will ask one last time. Why was your pen found at the crime scene?
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, a man who has no explanation for how his own son's engraved pen ended up at a murder scene is either completely innocent or completely guilty.
And at that moment, the defendant fell silent. Doubt clouded his face. Then, finally, the words slipped out.
I was there, but I didn't mean to. It was a mistake. I never...
A wave of gasps rippled through the courtroom. The lie he had built for years had crumbled, all because of a single innocent question from his son.
The court has reached a verdict. Michael Miller, you are found guilty of murder.
Sometimes justice is served by the smallest hands, and today a child had revealed the true face of justice.